So really want to commend Multiply for going on this journey with CISA and UCT. And as Cornetta mentioned, this journey started about 18 months ago with approaching us to really say, what are we doing, and start asking questions around their current fitness assessments, and re-looking at why they are doing what they're doing and where they can improve their current fitness assessment. So in this journey, we had started off, let me just try and find the, we had started off asking a few questions. And it started off as a discussion with what should this enhanced fitness assessment look like? So the first point that we started discussing, these boxes we wanted to tick, was we wanted to ensure that all the outcomes we are measuring actually associate with severe health outcomes. So in this first approach, or part of this first approach, was we started a systematic review, and we did a systematic review of the literature. Those of you that did research studies, part of your honors degrees, and all of you are bios, so all of you would have done research projects, would remember that you would have all done literature reviews. Now, a systematic review is a literature review where you specifically put in the various search items and then try and get all the data and all the research papers that have been published. So we gathered all these research papers that have been published, and we identified which outcomes are specifically associated with health outcomes. Now, spoiler alert, we only found 3 outcomes to be specifically associated with morbidity and mortality. These were your current cardiovascular fitness, your body composition, and your musculoskeletal fitness, or your musculoskeletal strength. The second component that we wanted to have part of this enhanced fitness assessment is we wanted to ensure that our prediction of cardiorespiratory fitness is accurate. The third component, we wanted to ensure that our test is individual. We wanted to ensure that it was sensitive to change and repeatable, and that again talks to the second point, accuracy. And then we were very cognizant of the fact that we wanted to be efficient to time and efficient to space. So most of our practices are only one room, or some practices are only one room. We all don't have a 20-meter space available where we can do a bleep test, for example. That is a common test used to predict cardiorespiratory fitness. So we needed to be efficient of space and of course time, because we want to get this assessment done in the shortest possible time. Better messaging, again, talks to the point about we needed to ensure that the outcomes were both sensitive to change and repeatable, so that if a individual comes for a fitness assessment today, if they're actually working and training and they come again in a few weeks' time, we want to see improvements. And we have really improved the way the outcomes are measured. We are giving exact numbers to our fitness scores so that we can establish how much they have improved, to create the motivation for them to want to improve as well. Part of the messaging is also how the report looks, and we've worked closely with Cornetta and really creating an automated report that as soon as you are finished, you press the button and the report pops up, everything is done, and we'll show how that report looks. So part of what is health-related fitness, if you look at the Alpha Fit, if you look at the Eurofit, all these large consortiums that have done various or proposed various test batteries, there are 3 main components of measuring health-related fitness in adults. The 3 components are your cardiorespiratory fitness, musculoskeletal fitness, and body composition. So this is what all these major consortiums have done. They agreed with exactly what we had found when we conducted our systematic review, in that these are the only components that actually associate with health-related fitness. So previously, some other fitness tests and the previous fitness test might have included additional components, maybe a lung function a measure of flexibility, we have taken we have decided to remove those to again make it more efficient and to only actually report what is associated, what research has shown us to be associated with health-related fitness. So there are only 3 components. Within the first component, the cardiorespiratory fitness, the gold standard there is VO2 max testing, but we cannot have a metabolic cart in each of our practices, so we have to look at ways of estimating VO2 max. So the first way or the most common way, if you look at the literature to estimate VO2 max, is via a shuttle run test. As I mentioned, we don't have 20 meters in all our practices, so that is just not practical. The second most common way is a step test. There are also various bike ergometer tests, but step tests are commonly used, and in my following slide, I will talk about some step tests. Obviously, there are some cases where people might not be able to complete step tests. I'll talk about that as well. But then you can then look at alternative means of measuring or estimating VO2 max, such as a 6-minute walk test. And if a person's not able to step or walk, it can also be estimated through using arm ergometer tests. The second component of health-related fitness, musculoskeletal fitness, which is your strength. The most common way that we found in the literature was grip strength is the most common way of measuring musculoskeletal fitness, if you look at these large prospective randomized control studies. Other ways of measuring musculoskeletal fitness or strength is your 1-minute push-ups, 1-minute sit-ups, broad jump and vertical jump. Body composition, simple BMI, waist, and body fat estimation. So with all of these options, we decided to go ahead with choosing a step test as our measure of cardiorespiratory fitness, and as I will explain in the next slides, options of either 6-minute walk test and an arm ergometer test should they be needed. Grip strength, the preferred measure of measuring musculoskeletal fitness, but if you do have the client that wants to debate his grip strength, give him the option of dropping onto the multiply mat that Cornetta showed for him to be able to see and say, well, if you can beat your current percentile, your strength percentile by doing 1-minute push-ups, be my guest. So they'll be given the option of doing a 1-minute push-up as well. And we are estimating body fat through using the multiply algorithm. So multiply and the actuaries Cornetta mentioned have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, tailoring and improving their algorithm. This algorithm has not been launched yet, as I understand. So the current algorithm that Multiply are using is still the previous version. Their actuaries have been processing data and improved their body fat estimation algorithm. So back to the step tests. For those of you that are aware, there are several different step tests that can be used to predict or estimate VO2 max. 9 are mentioned here. Some of the common ones, the 3-minute YMCA, Harvard test, the Chester step test, are all commonly used step tests. However, these step tests are not designed, or originally when they were created, they were not all designed to estimate VO2 max. So they're not optimized to really give you an exact a good prediction of VO2 max. These tests are also not individualized. So what's meant by that is everybody performs exactly the same or step count and exactly the same step height. So for example, if I'm very heavy and I'm stepping onto a 30.5 centimeter step, I'm doing, and I'm very short, I'm doing a lot more work than somebody that's taller and lighter. Because of that, it creates a very poor prediction of VO2 max. So among these step tests, the best of these step tests provide a 68% explanation of the variance. So for those of you that remember some stats, an R squared of 0.82. We know that that Cohen stat, your R value, has to be greater than 0.88 for that correlation to be a strong association. Additionally, when these step tests were developed and tested, most of them only tested their step tests using a very homogeneous population group. So we now know that when we test this with a more heterogeneous group, some of these predictions even become less strong than they already are. So in comes sort of our involvement in trying to improve the estimation of cardiorespiratory fitness. Now, this started as a PhD project way before the 18 months. We had probably started this 10 years ago, and this is work done by Professor Mike Lambert and one of his PhD students. And this research study started about 10 years ago. And what they did was really try and optimize a step test to create a better prediction of VO2 max. So if you can see from the original blueprints there, what is different about the step test is that the legs can extend. So the first point is that the step is individualized, whereby a taller individual, you'll have a higher step height, and a shorter individual would have a lower step height. In doing so, the knee and hip angles of every person performing the step would be exactly the same. So we are really able to compare apples to apples. Additionally, we are also changing the duration of the step. So the beats are exactly the same, but if an individual is lighter, they would be performing it for slightly longer compared to an individual that is heavier. The reason we have done that is we are allowing every single participant of the step to perform exactly the same amount of work. So everybody is doing exactly 42,000 joules, I think it is. And as you know, the amount of work you're going to do is determined by the person's body weight and the step height. So when you're conducting this test and a person walks in, you simply input their height and you input their weight, and that'll tell you how high the step should be and how long they should be performing the step test. And this is the way we standardize it to ensure that everybody is performing the exact same workload. When we tested the step as part of the Professor Lambert's PhD student's thesis, we used a heterogeneous population, which means that we used both males and females, age range from 25 to 65, or 21 to 60, and a VO2 max range from 25, which is relatively, or rather unfit, to 65, which is near sort of elite athlete level. We had found that with this new step test, we were able to predict or have a R value of 0.88, which, if you remember previously, by definition, implies that this is a strong association and thereby a very good step test. As I mentioned previously, we have to have alternate options because we don't want to put everybody in the same box. Because of the duration of the step test, not everybody is going to be able to finish this. From our, we have done tests on more than 200 individuals now, and we know that within a general population sample, we would expect about 5% of individuals to not be able to finish the test. So if an individual is not going to be able to finish the test, or we can see that while they are conducting the test, we can see that there's no chance they're actually going to reach the 6 minutes or the 7 minutes that they are meant to be performing the test. It's going to be up to you to be able to rather call it off sooner than later. So for example, you can have a look at, and even ask them their RPEs, you can have a look at their heart rate live on the straps that Cornetta provides as part of the test as well, and try and just after a few tests, you'll be able to get the feel as to whether this participant is going to make the full duration. Rather tell them to stop if you know that they're not going to make it, and allow them to do the 6-minute walk test. If they are not able to do the step or they're not able to walk, then they can do the arm ergometer test, and we have provided a protocol to use an arm ergometer test to estimate VO2 max as well. So that is the cardiorespiratory fitness component. The musculoskeletal fitness component, as I mentioned, grip strength, is associated with all-cause mortality. So you might think it's a bit odd and random, but it has strong association with mortality and morbidity. It's a particularly important marker of health outcomes. Also important to measure or to mention when you've got a client with you, if they've sort of a bit confused as this measure of strength, it's important to note that grip strength correlates extremely well with other measures of strength. So tell them this correlates very well with your bench press. It correlates very well with your squat. And we know that when you plot an individual's grip strength versus some other absolute measures of strength, it actually correlates very well. If you're looking and we really want to assess absolute strength, you've got to remember that the alternatives that are commonly done, push-ups and sit-ups, are not absolute measures. So heavier individuals will be negatively influenced because they have to be lifting their body weight as well. So that's a relative measure. So we should be measuring absolute strength, and obviously we won't be able to get people to do 1RM bench presses. So this is a real practical solution to be measuring absolute strength. But as I mentioned again, and I will show you the flow in 2 slides' time, we will give them the ability to still be able to do a push-up should they want to prove to you that they are stronger than their grip strength suggests. Body composition, I've already mentioned the multiply algorithm. So nothing more to be said here. Cornetta did mention that we are going to measure it across the navel. So research suggests that it doesn't matter where you take the measurement as long as you are consistent. But the easiest way to be consistent is to use anatomical landmarks. You don't really want to be prodding too much, so we are just saying standardize it and use the navel. For the multiply algorithm, the input variables are age, sex, height, waist, and weight. This is our flow. So you start off in the system. We'll take you through a waiver and a pre-participation health screening. We recommend then next to do the body composition. For that, we are using the multiply prediction. Then the cardiorespiratory component, which is, as I mentioned, the S-step. And the alternatives, if they cannot complete that, is either the 6-minute walk test or the arm ergo test. And then the last component is the musculoskeletal test. Grip strength is the preferred test. If they wish, they can do the maximum amount of push-ups they can in a minute. So as I mentioned, we've really worked with Cornetta to really create a very nice report. So everybody, as soon as you complete the data, press submit, the report will auto-generate and get emailed to the client, in which their results are nicely communicated to them. So this is the report, how it looks. Specifically, each component will be shown like this. So on the left-hand side there, body composition, it shows that the first percentage is their actual body fat percentage. Under that, the ranking, we are reporting all results as percentiles. So we have created nice algorithms that uses their body fat percentage with obviously their sex and their age, to create a percentile score. So you've all seen those tables in the ACSMs, those percentile tables. So really those auto-generate. So we are reporting percentiles of each. So they'll know the exact percentile of body fat, they'll know their percentile of grip strength, of push-ups, and cardiorespiratory fitness. So this is a nice way, and it really assists you in communicating their results to them, and it will actually highlight where they need to improve their overall fitness assessment. It is no secret we are going to be using 50% of the overall fitness assessment score, the 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 50% will be from the cardiorespiratory fitness, because we know that is the most important component. The body composition and the muscle strength will count 25% each. And that's all from me, nice and simple.